Oh, are you dead, darling? Yes, he's
Is
gone.
it dead?
Yes.
Ah,
Can you put him up
sure.
in the window for me?
You told me you're 93 years old. Is that okay if we put that?
93 in September, the
Okay.
9th.
That's fantastic. How do you keep so young? What's your secret?
I do 5 Tibetan exercises every morning, 21 of each. Though I broke my elbow and I had to stop because I'd broken my elbow. So then I waited and waited until this cured, and then I had another fall. So I've only just started, and I've got up to number 16 of the exercises, but I've got to get to 21. I've got 5 more to do.
Great.
Yes.
And
And I listen to Krishnamurti every morning and every night. Not because I'm trying to gain anything from him, but I'm learning about myself. And I can see by listening to him how to begin with, we have to listen, and we don't know how to listen. I've learned so much in the last 10 years is not true. From learning to learn about myself. Not because I want to be a big person or whatever. I don't. I just want to learn what it is. And I've discovered such a lot. I've discovered there's no such thing as death, except in this world. We don't realise that we're caught. The body has to have a replenishment. We don't have to be caught in the consciousness of the whole of mankind, which we are at the moment. And that consciousness of mankind has produced in us a lack of self-learning, self-listening, and self-seeing. And when we don't do any of those, we're in a state of copying and behaving entirely related to our conditioning, which everybody has been conditioned. There's no such thing as nationalities. We've made it that way. There's no such thing as anything like that. We've made that.
exactly.
But there is such a thing as love, but we can't find that until we have discovered in ourselves how, we've got no complete understanding of what it is to listen and to learn about ourselves. I'll give you an idea. I didn't discover his learning about himself until I learned that when you have what is in front of you, say you've got, what would you suggest?
Whatever that is.
Whatever that is in front of you. And before, you've just either shoved it to one side, ignored it, or
Try to run away from it.
escape from it, etc. But the idea really in understanding, listening, learning and seeing is to realise that within the scope of the human ability, if we weren't caught in the consciousness of mankind, we would be able to comprehend that there are different dimensions of which we know nothing, and there are different ways of understanding ourselves which we know nothing. For instance, to know yourself properly, you have to live in the what is that comes in front of you, i.e. you can't move away from it, you can't escape from it, you just sit with it. To learn about yourself, this is. Not just to learn about the what is. The what is you have drawn to yourself because of what you are.
Right.
This is all, don't take any notice of what I'm saying as a truth.
No, I see the same thing, because what is can actually trigger some reactions, for example. And you can watch those reactions.
Yes.
For example.
Yes. And so, have you followed what I'm saying?
I'm completely with you. Absolutely.
Yeah, so, fine. I realise that when you're actually meeting the what is, which comes in front of you, don't know what it is, anything could happen. like you ringing up. But our minds are so occupied with thought processes, and the thought processes are so dangerous, and we don't know the danger that they produce upon our minds, and we've never learnt to understand thought. We don't know it must only act in its own environment, which is in the environment of this world, the known,
the limitations, right?
Of limitations.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the unknown where love is.
Exactly.
It's the exact opposite. And to me, the unfortunate part is that we live in a world of conditioning which we have never understood. And until we watch ourselves and catch ourselves in this condition, we can't learn, we can't see, and we can't love. We can't literally.
Yeah.
Now, listening is not listening to gain something. It's not listening to change yourself. It's not listening to follow somebody. It's not listening to be better than you are. It's not listening to free yourself from something, right, and become something else.
Has no motive.
It has no motive, absolutely. Listening is entirely a process of dead quiet here and ears open, but not so that you can gain anything, all of those, right, things I've said.
Exactly.
So in which you follow me.
Absolutely.
And to learn to understand how to listen, you can only do it through watching yourself. No one can, first of all, one has to realise that nobody can help you but yourself. Mm-hmm. There isn't a soul. Kay can't help you. Mm-hmm. Nobody can. I'll tell you a story about myself. I listened to him in 1969, and I was so overcome after listening to him that I asked somebody if I could run after him and talk to him. And she said, no, he's quite available to do it. So I ran with all my might. He was going over to Brockwood school from the centre. Have you been to the centre?
Yes, yes. Yes.
So when I got to halfway across, he turned round, saw me running towards him. And when I said that I wanted to speak to him, he put his hands up like this. And I was so shattered.
Right.
And all of it once came straight to me. What was I doing, coming up, running up to him, when I'd been listening for an hour and a half to something that I'd wanted all my life? Mm-hmm. And why should I run after them all? Mm-hmm. When I didn't even understand what I'd got from the beginning. Mm-hmm. So what was the matter with me? And I held back like this. I didn't do any more. I had many opportunities to talk with him, many. Mm-hmm. In fact, we met by ourselves at that little gate before you go into the grove, where you go over to the fields, and that little gate. Yes, he opened the gate for me. I never said a word.
Right.
He never said a word to me. Mm-hmm. But I knew his understanding was miles beyond mine, and I knew that I would have to do a lot more learning.
But isn't that comparison and a conditioning also? You know what I mean?
Of course it was. It was my state of conditioning.
Right.
I was no more able to go and talk with him than a fly. Mm-hmm. Because I was so bound up with this. Mm-hmm. I had never understood it, but I know that I came from a mother who was full of conditioning, and a father. And the state of my background, we had plenty of money, and we went to very expensive schools, and I was spoilt. Mm-hmm. Thought everything depended upon me. Mm-hmm. We had maids, we had people called, instead of calling me Betty, as my name was then, instead of Elizabeth, they called me Miss Betty. Mm-hmm. And I never thought of anything that wasn't right for it. But boy, now, I couldn't bear it. Mm-hmm. I couldn't bear anything like that now. But it's taken me years to comprehend. Right. Years and years. Mm-hmm. And I think I've watched myself and caught myself so many times with this conditioning effect on me that I've begun to realise that it'll take me. I only hope that before I die, before I physically die. I can die to all that I've known.
But isn't that a kind of a moment-to-moment thing? So
Absolutely.
during your days...
Absolutely. Moment to moment.
Yeah.
I never... And that's true meditation.
Right.
The moment to moment. Not that... I went... a friend invited me to Vipassana meditation. And it was a 10-day course. I've never in my life found it anything so terrible. And the worst thing was when they came to the lunch, they helped themselves to their food massed on their plate and thrown it, half of it away in a bucket. I swore I'd never go back to such a place in my life. But all I did was, we were in a sort of room. We had a little break. I just collected flies from the windows and took them outside. But I didn't kill them, of course. I just took them outside. I don't like killing anything.
Yeah.
They've got a right to live as much as I have, even we flies. And everything. I'm how can I put it? I've had to learn the hard way. I know I have. Especially when I first married at 18 to a man 30, he was 15 years older than me.
Okay.
And I was colonel in the army.
Why did you marry so soon? But my mother married when she was 16. So maybe in those days it was more common.
No, I did it to get away from my mother. And to be free, as I thought. And of course I'd only got a much worse freedom. and in the end, as you know in my book, I went up to feed the last baby. And he told me if I left the house, that would be the last she'd ever see of me. And goodbye. And I thought I would be so frightened that I'd come back. I wasn't, because I was so worried about the baby that wouldn't feed, the last baby. In the end, of course, the baby went back to him. But losing my children at that time was a ghastly situation, which took me some considerable time to get over. But I never really learned how to understand life as it really is exactly now. And that was why when I listened to Krishnamurti and he said, look at the what is in front of you. Don't go a centimetre away from it in any direction, escaping, trying to learn, trying to do this, trying to do the other. You just have to sit there with it and look at exactly what took place in that and what is that we're in front of you.
Right.
Don't try to alter, change or shape it to fit in with you.
Yeah.
Don't try to make it better than, or yourself better than, or try to make yourself better because you're going to learn something. You can't learn until you learn everything about what is right in front of you.
Exactly. This is so profound, because these days all of the schools of self-help, modern psychology, and also traditional schools, they all are they rely on moving away from what is.
Absolutely, absolutely.
If you're jealous, try not to be jealous.
Yes, exactly. And it isn't, you've got to learn all about jealousy.
Right.
All about what you do, what you don't do. And if you don't do something that you don't like about yourself, then you have to come back again to really learn about it. Otherwise, it'll haunt you.
Yeah, and that's why I call Krishnamurti's work, when I'm talking about it sometimes...
So incredible.
I call it like postmodern, super advanced psychology.
Completely.
Because he talks about observing that without the observer as a separate entity.
Totally. And he never really explains it.
But it's so true. It's almost a natural law. It's not so because he says it. No. It's so because it's so.
I never thought I'd find somebody else that I could talk to like this, and you know it. You feel exactly like me. I really haven't.
I know.
There aren't people about.
There are not many, I know. Because not many take the time.
Jerome is one.
Yeah. Not many take the
and
time
Bill is
to
another.
go. Yeah.
And he's got a wife that's ill, you know.
I know, I love them both, yeah.
I know. You've been to see both of them.
Yeah. I've known them. We were friends for years.
Now, what's your name again?
Reza.
Reza.
Yeah.
What?
Reza Ganjavi.
Ganjavi.
Ganjavi it's Persian. I'm originally from Iran.
From where?
Iran.
Iran. Oh,
yeah.
really?
Yeah.
So you'll understand the
Farsi, Persian language, yes, of course.
But you'll understand the people.
Yeah.
You'll understand the agony they're going through, poor things.
Yes, I also understand the tradition, the mystical. There's a very deep mystical with Rumi and so on.
Yeah.
So we grew up with this.
Yeah. I read a lot about Rumi.
Yeah, and others.
And others. And of course I went to stay in Krishnamurti schools in India.
Okay.
Yes. I bought this house, and a friend of mine I got friendly with when she gave me a massage after I'd fallen down and hurt myself.
Oh.
And I was at school, I was working with the Scotsman publication at that time, and she gave me a massage and got me better. So when she couldn't stay any longer in the digs that she was in, I said, of course you can come here. You can have the front room to do your work, and you can have the back of that to live in as your bedroom. And she stayed and brought a lot of things, amongst which she brought a Krishnamurti book.
Okay. When was this? Which year approximately?
I bought this house in 1965.
Okay.
66, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I can't quite remember the date.
Right.
I know that when I bought it, I put a cross on the door, St Andrew's cross on the door, because I knew I must have it. And I knew it would be difficult. It was terribly difficult to get hold of.
Okay.
It was extremely difficult, but I got it. And I got them they were in the need of money. And then I was feeling a little bit taut that day. I couldn't quite manage to relate to my husband, second husband. And he came here with me. And so I felt so frustrated that I opened this bookcase she'd left. There's a book by Krishnamurti. I opened it like this. Good God, why haven't I found this man before? But I grabbed it, and it said at the bottom of what I was reading, if you've got something troubling you, go for a walk and sort it out for yourself. I immediately shut the book up, took a note of where I'd been reading it, and went out and walked right down the beach and back again. Came back again, and told my husband all about it. He knew that he belonged to the Theosophical Society. Right. So he went to the Theosophical Society to find out where he was. He got all the news in the end that he was in Rockwood Park.
Mm-hmm.
No, not at that time. So it must have been later than when I found hers. Yes, because I'd been here some time.
Mm-hmm.
So it was about 1968 when I discovered this book of Krishnamurti. It wasn't. It was 69. From here, and I grabbed the book, as I tell you, and went down. And when I came back, I said, we must find him, I must go. And he was actually talking in 69 at Rockwood Park. So I got rid of my, I didn't get rid of it, but I just literally said to the Scotsman, I'm taking a 3 weeks holiday, irregardless. And they were quite pleased with my work, so they didn't argue. And I went down with my husband, we camped. I rang them up first. Yes, there is room to camp. There's thousands of people here, and I'm sorry I can't spend longer with you. And of course, when we got down there, we were utterly shattered to see thousands of people, and people camping and all the rest of it. And we got to know a lot of people. And I went ever since then, every year until he died.
Oh, really? Okay.
I never missed a year.
Okay.
And I went in between to check up on him that he was different. Was he any different in India or in America? And I found it was the same everywhere.
So you saw him in India as well as in California?
As well as in California.
Okay.
Well, what's it called, California?
Ojai.
Ojai. Is Ojai California? Yes,
Yes.
it is. Yes, Ojai. O-J-A.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's it. Yes.
Earlier you mentioned about thinking, conditioning, tradition, and so on, and then there is love.
Now,
So
love can only come into being when you're not.
Right. That's a very good quote. Exactly. It's a fact. And also when we're thinking too much, because thinking has the right place, right?
Of course it does.
But when we're thinking about areas where we shouldn't be and so on, which thought was not made for, then it pushes love out. Right?
Love can't exist
Yeah.
under such conditions.
Because that field is of time.
Yeah.
And love is timeless.
And remember thought. The damaging thing is thought, which is existence only in time. The damage of thought is that it should live in the world of the known. That's where we have to operate with thought, like learning how to do the computer, learning how to do this thing, learning how to garden, learning everything.
Yeah.
We don't need anything to do with thought outside itself in the field of the known. We don't need it at all.
Exactly.
Psychologically or any other way.
Right.
It can't teach us about ourselves. It can do nothing to help us.
And it can ruin it.
And it is desperately dangerous.
Yes. You know, the world is sick.
It's terribly sick because
Especially
it lives on thought.
Yeah, exactly. The educational system emphasizes thought so much. I see this around me all the time.
That's why I gave all my money when I pop off, all the money will go to the educational with Bill Taylor.
Right.
He knows.
Yeah.
Because they're doing something in their educational system which is removing that ignorance and conditioning.
Yeah, exactly.
Showing the people.
It's
the young
wonderful.
children.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. I sat in a class.
Yeah.
I was thrilled to bits. The person who was running the class, after we'd been going for about 3 or 4, 10 minutes, a girl came in late. So she turned to somebody else. Jane, would you mind telling Evelyn exactly where we've got to, dear? She couldn't say anything about you, why are you late, what are you late for, or anything. And the girl came in, she got into it, and
it's great.
And nobody.
Yeah.
That I saw from my own eyes.
Right. So in these societies, like take Switzerland as an example, very rich, very orderly, but very thought dominated. And then you get suicide rate is one of the highest in the world. And I see it in people
where
around.
Where is it highest?
In Switzerland.
Switzerland, is it?
Speaking about Switzerland, yes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and because it's so thought dominated. I mean, that's my interpretation. Because I see it with people
thought
around me.
Is absolutely right.
They always thought, and it always runs into the wall. Because thought is not made. It's like brushing your hair with a toothbrush.
But thought is picked up by your conditioned mind, and you relate to it through your conditioning because you were brought up on thought.
And that's why it's even.
That was the conditioning.
Right. It's difficult to see it. So
yeah, but therefore, you can't. You don't know who you are.
Right.
And if somebody tries to tell you about it, you don't understand it because you've got to find it out yourself. Catch yourself.
Yeah.
Literally getting yourself in a muddle through thought.
Right.
And that's what I do. That's why I listen to Kay. Not because I want to get anything from him. Not because I want to get anything clever on me. Anything like that. But because my thought, we don't know it, but it jumps in when we're supposed to be listening. And that's the danger of thought. The biggest danger.
Right.
Because it interprets.
Yeah.
What you've heard.
And this is perhaps the reason where you said that you don't know many people who've gone deeply into this. Because thought is so dominant.
Absolutely.
Or also maybe...
no, they listen through thought. I mean, I took these into my car and listened to them all the way, going around for the 8,000 miles that I did. Those are only a
fraction.
Fraction, yes. I'm going through them to find out a good one that I can start this off, because I'm going to start
great.
off in about the end of September.
Nice.
Came to the realization inside me that I wanted to learn exactly what it meant to die, exactly what it meant to be alive, and exactly why I was here before this body disappeared, popped off. And I was therefore going to keep it as strong mentally, physically, and I eat very little. I only have 2 meals a day, and I make sure that I don't overeat. And I'd got to learn about myself, the effect that it was having on me, not my relationship to her, but her effect she was having on me.
Right.
What it produced in me.
Mm-hmm.
And of course I'd learned one hell of a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, did I not learn.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I realised that if you aren't absolutely bang on all the time ready to learn about yourself all day long,
Mm-hmm.
you can slip back.
Mm-hmm.
And boy, I've done it quite a lot of times, to my chagrin. But then I learned that to dwell upon that and not upon the actual slipping up. The slipping up was what you had to dwell on, not why you did it, and should you never do it again.
Yes, because that would be moving away from what is.
Absolutely. And I had to deal with the what is, which was my negligence.
Right.
And it was such fun to realise that that was the only way I could learn. Mm-hmm. I can't learn any other way.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about anybody else, but I can't until I've discovered for myself what I really am.
And you learned about death.
And so I did learn something from Krishnamurti's talk.
Yes.
In which he was talking to some Buddhists.
Mm-hmm.
And what he called it was the stream of the consciousness of mankind.
Right.
And he'd often spoken about the consciousness. And I understood about the consciousness because I understood that when you get caught in the consciousness, you're getting caught in hatred, bitterness, all the rest of the things that man is subject to in the known.
Mm-hmm.
Hatred, bitterness, wanting to kill, Christ knows what.
Yes.
And nationalities and separations and all, and the biggest thing, individual.
Mm-hmm.
They think they're an individual. There's no such thing as an individual.
Mm-hmm.
An individual is nothing of the kind. There isn't such a thing. If there were,
it's kind of absurd, isn't it?
If
you look at all the ants, and everyone thinks it's an individual.
Yeah, it'd be completely mad. So you can see this immensity that the human mind has been caught in this consciousness. And we all came from it. And when we come back to this earth, we come into that consciousness. That's where we come to, straight away.
Mm-hmm.
But the interesting point is that if there is an intelligence operating, and you can discover the intelligence yourself through an insight. The insight comes only when you've gone through the what is in front of you. I'll give you an example. Mankind. And the mankind stream, you are held to it by the what is that comes in front of you. And you will always be held by it until you understand that that's a part of the consciousness. Mm-hmm. That stream is coming in front of you. Mm-hmm. And you're part of it. And you've got to deal with it by actually dealing with it minute by minute, moment by moment in front of you. Right. And never escaping, never moving away from it, never diverting your attention from it until you've thoroughly understood. And this is what happened to me. Mm-hmm. My husband and I were up in the mountains. And we used to go round in a caravanette. And when we got it was a huge caravanette. And we had a 1-2. And he went off in a huff and said, I won't come back. And I sat on the side of the caravanette in total fear because it was dark, we were miles from anywhere, and I couldn't move the caravanette in case he came back. I was frightened to death. So I sat with this fear, and I wouldn't move away from the fear. Whatever happened, I went back to the fear, until finally I found the fear moving away like as if it was evaporating from me. And at that moment my husband appeared. And he said, it's just something to me. And I said, oh, did you have a nice walk, darling? As if there'd been no trouble between us.
Right, right.
Just completely had vanished.
That's magical. I've experienced this a lot in my life, and
have you?
Yes, and it actually transforms the other person too.
Immediately he lost all of his grudge or anything.
Right.
Didn't have any more.
Right.
We both lost it.
Imagine this going in out, to a bigger world.
Ah, wait a minute. Because you're in the consciousness, you affect that consciousness when you act in a honest and true manner. With intelligence. It was intelligence to discover fear. It wasn't intelligence to go all over the place and upside down and shout and scream and getting myself in knickers in a twist and Christ knows what.
Right.
The only thing was to really see myself exactly what I was, and I could see I was frightened to death. Oh, you're so frightened you don't know where you are. You've never looked at fear before. And I went on like that and on. It must have been at least 2 hours, because he was away at least that. If you can see it at once, it'll stop. You don't have to go over and over and over.
Right.
And so you see, I realised later about death. One stays in that stream, one will die, as an ordinary person dies of the body. It'll also die of the mind and have to come back again. It will have to return. But should you see yourself, excuse me saying so, but it's quite extraordinary that you're sitting there and I'm talking to you like this.
It's nothing to excuse.
It's quite extraordinary. Well, honestly it is. Because I haven't honestly met anybody off the street, so to speak, that I could have talked in the same way. Honestly, I can't believe my eyes. And I can see quite clearly that you understand everything that I'm saying.
It's my honor to be in your presence. And, and listen, have a conversation together.
Yeah. Yeah. What's so wonderful about it, this business of dying, is that the insight into death, which is really an ending of the consciousness of all of this nonsense that we all live through. Right. Thought and all the rest of it.
Exactly.
Which is in the consciousness of mankind.
Yes.
We lose that by an insight for a second or two. And the intelligence is there. And the intelligence is so deep at times when you learn to live with whatever the what is, and you see the intelligence coming to help you, you realise that there is no such thing as a woman or a man dying, in the dying sense. Once he has understood, or she has understood, that living and dying are like one coin, one side and the other side, the other side. You can't have one without the other. And when you, this is you mustn't take what I'm saying as a fact. It might I might be all up the wall.
But you're just sharing your own understanding.
I'm only sharing my understanding so far.
Yeah, and that's what I'm interested in.
So far, I could.
Right.
Tomorrow I could be a different individual.
Right.
But do you see what I mean?
Yes, yes.
So when you're living, you have to end that living, the living that is so terrible to the world, the consciousness of man.
Right. So psychologically die.
Die to it.
Yeah.
Realise the end of it.
Right.
You stepped out of it.
Yeah.
That's your death.
Which is the ending of the me and all of its travail.
Because the me only lives in that state.
Right.
You have no self in the other state. But you've jumped out of it to such an extent that you're free with the energy that I've got since I've understood this is beyond measure.
It's obvious. I mean, I would never guess you to be 93, never. I would say like 75 at most. No, actually, with regards to your energy and vitality, I would say 30.
You see that ring?
But yeah.
What does that ring do but to hide everything? Underneath it's an opal, it's a black opal.
Mm-hmm.
But really and truly you can't see it when you first look at it. It doesn't look anything. But you catch it in a certain light and you've got all the beautiful parts of the ring,
Mm-hmm.
which is a black opal.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hidden. Everything's hidden from you till you wake it up.
Yeah, and I meet teenagers who are so dull and dead. And then I meet you who are so alive and full of youth, you know?
Yes, I feel it. I feel the, in fact, I know I'm going to live to 103. That's what I feel I'm going to do.
Sounds good.
Yeah,
we'll have a big party for you. I'll bring my guitar.
Yes. Yes. I mean, I've changed my whole attitude towards nature. Everything, absolutely. I mean, I talk to them.
Yeah.
All these plants.
Yeah, and they're
Look
your
at that
friends.
for a plant. Look at this. Never before has that come into a plant, a flower. Look at it. Look at it. Look at it. And when it was over here, something said to me, move it over here. I moved it over here and look at it. All of it. It's incredible.
Yeah, I like Kathy as well. I know her too.
You knew her too.
Yeah.
You most of the people.
Yeah. Do you go to Brockwood sometimes still?
I haven't been for a bit since I fell down.
Oh, okay.
That I haven't been, but I am going to go down.
Okay.
And I made a fruit salad yesterday.
Great. So Elisabeth has prepared a wonderful lunch for us, all vegetarian. She's a vegetarian herself, have been for many years.
Since 1956.
Wow. And she also very kindly offered to drive me to the airport. It's very nice of you. And we were talking about she had a little accident and her back was hurting, and then she started having some self-pity. Right. Her crutch was hurting, and then Elizabeth, show me with that spoon how you stopped the thought. She stopped the thoughts of self-pity, just like she showed us with that spoon.
You know, it's such fun. We don't have to stay in the stream, you see. You can't. You don't. That's death. That's a living is here, this side, which is unknown because you don't know what you're going to meet every time. You don't have to be. You've got to accept that life and death is a side of the coin.
And Kay used to talk about life, death, and love.
That's it.
It's kind of like a...
Love comes from it. The acceptance of both.
And when we live with death, then love can...
Do you know what happened before you came? A thought came into my mind, just as it's been interfering in my computer. Perhaps this isn't a real person at all. Perhaps he's just got hold of it.
Right, of course.
Did you know it went through my head?
Sure.
So I did the same thing, bang like this. Told myself to behave. When you came to the door, I said, I could have hugged you.
You could have what?
Hugged you.
Oh, it's very sweet. You know, since we had email contact many years ago, and you kindly invited me here.
Do take some of those.
Thank you.
Onions as well.
Thank you very much. Computer, you told me you have
and I sit on the computer.
You said you have a big Macintosh.
I'll show it to you.
So you do email and internet and
No, I write my book on it.
Oh, okay. Do you use them?
It's called The Wonders of Life.
Wow.
I couldn't think what... I had several titles, and I thought, oh my God, that's wrong. It suddenly came to me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
No, nothing wrong with that bread, is there?
With what?
Nothing wrong with that bread.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
I love it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you use the internet?
Yes. But not
Google
much.
and things like this?
Not very much.
Do you still use email?
Yes. All the time. Is that okay?
I'm very happy.
Oh, good.
Thank you so
I'm
much.
so glad you were a vegetarian. I never thought to ask you. I didn't ask you, did I? But that was so funny picking up that avocado. I looked at it and I thought, my God, you are a beauty.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have you. But it's rather a lot for one person, and then it goes so coloured. And I got it the right amount of times before you came. I mean, it was extraordinary. Don't you think?
Yes, yes, yes.
Hmm?
There are many extraordinary things about life. Krishnamurti, he used to say, sorry, what were you going to say?
No, there's no such thing as an extraordinary thing. It happens because, I mean, there's no such thing as...
I was just going to say that.
Yeah.
Krishnamurti used to say there is no such thing as coincidence.
No, nonsense.
Or actually, he didn't say that. He said, is it really coincidence or is it deeper layers of cause and effect?
Oh, yes.
Or something to that effect. Can I try the nut bread?
Please. It's walnut. Very good. And then do have some of my goat's cheese. But you see, the computer was in a bit of a muddle.
Okay.
And what I got was 2 applications, you see. Yes, I can. Nothing coming.
That looks clear.
I used to have one much bigger than that.
Oh, really?
Almost
A mobile home almost.
big, yeah, huge it was. Because I kept books in it as well.
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing now? Taking a picture of the area.
Yeah, the beach is...
It's nice, isn't it?
Yes.
See the sea, isn't it beautiful?
Yes, yes.
So if you come and stay, you can always take a walk.
Thank you very
Look
much.
at it there. Isn't that beautiful?
Yes.
You can go straight across there or down this little alleyway here.
Mm-hmm.
It's an alleyway here. See?
Yes.
It goes right down to the beach.
Wow.
When I was a younger at day school, I had an experience which literally lasted me until I began to understand, particularly through Krishnamurti's teachings. So I let it go. But until then, I kept on to it, and it was somebody broke it later on. But I can tell you this, that the mistress used to come to the doorways, and there was a glass door, and she would look through the glass door, the headmistress.
Mm-hmm.
And if she saw an eruption or anything into the class, she'd go and interfere. As she came in, I happened to be a prefect of the class. And she came in, she said, when the noise was going on, "Who's the prefect here?" And she jolly well knew it was me. And I said, of course it was me. She said, "Well, come over here, please. Now hand me your badge. You're obviously not worthy of a prefect because you can't keep the class in control." It was there was a mistress in the class, remember? How could I take any control?
Yeah.
So she then, because I didn't cry, because I didn't make any fuss, because I just gave it to her, the badge, and went away to sit down, she said, "I'm not finished with you. You're going to come for the next week and have all your lessons with me in a room downstairs on your own. And then perhaps you'll learn how to behave yourself and see other people who are behaved." And now, wouldn't that put you off learning?
Yeah.
put me completely off.
And this is when you were 12?
I was 11 or 10 or 11.
So you said you stopped learning when you were 12.
I couldn't do any exams. I used to be head of exams. That's why I was a prefect.
Mm-hmm.
I was top of the class.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't dare to tell my father because I knew he would go and, kill them pretty nearly. So I didn't say a word. But it did affect me until one day somebody said something to me, and I realised I'd kept it behind me as a means of not realising that it was still affecting me.
Right.
And this person literally, something he said, shoved it straight out of my head, and I never looked back after that. Mm-hmm. I learned everything very quickly, like driving cars and all that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. You're a very good driver, by the way.
Mm-hmm. You haven't seen me for more than 2 minutes.
No, I can already tell.
Well, I've done a hell of a lot.
Yeah, you did it professionally, right? You were driving
certainly
as a book saleswoman, right?
Well, I never had an accident.
Yeah, knock on wood.
Knock on wood, yes. But then I was very careful. The only thing that ever happened to me was somebody banged me in the back. And you can't say it was my fault for that.
Right.
And I didn't push, shove like that to stop. She just wasn't looking.
Right.